Last week, I swapped the arms on Wolverine and fixed his mask. It turned out really awesome. I feel like it's one of the best customs I've done. Check it out if you haven't already. And now it's Deadpool's turn. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, but this figure is just fine. I didn't like it when it was first revealed. The promotional images didn't look that good. And now that I have it in hand, my opinion remains the same. And it's simply because this figure is just not as good as the Fox version in every single way. From the design to the colors, down to the accessories, the Fox version was better. By the way, this one here is the burnt pool from Deadpool 2, not the legacy one. That is why it's a little dark. Let's deconstruct this figure. I feel like this figure changes color on camera. The brighter the light, the more neon Deadpool gets. It's really weird. And that is actually my main issue with this figure. For those who regularly watch my videos, you know that I'm not a fan of the bright orange-red color Hasbro uses all the time. This color has this cheap plastic feel to it. It may work for comic book or cartoon characters, but it has never worked for live-action ones. It's more evident when you compare this figure with the previous Deadpool releases. The deeper red is just objectively nicer. His new suit does lean a bit more orange in the movie, but when I was looking up reference images, I noticed that his suit got progressively darker as the movie went on, and it actually ended up being very similar to the Fox suit. That said, the two suits are different, and it appears that Hasbro did not reuse any parts on this new figure. But they also decided to not include the extra relaxed hands and guns. As you can probably tell from my voice, I am not super enthusiastic about this figure. But I am still gonna try and improve it. I can't do Wolverine and skip Deadpool, so... Hello, this is Ken. I like making things. Whether it's repainting my figures or making diorama displays, I love making things look awesome. My goal is to elevate my figures so they can shine on my display. Join my DIY venture as I ask myself the same question every week. Can I make it? Let me start by going over the figure with a cooler red. This will tone down the orangeness and also give it a matte finish. The suit still looks quite flat. I want to bring out the details to add more dimension to the suit. Let me do that with a dark blue, using it as my shading color. The dark blue would deepen the red even more as well. In my opinion, Deadpool's suit looks best when it's a little bit dirty. Deadpool is someone who wears the same suit over and over again. His suit never looked super clean. I think that is why he looked strange when we first saw the new suit in the TVA elevator. I might have gone a tad overboard with the blue, as the suit is now much darker. Despite me preferring the original darker suit, I want this figure to look distinctively different from my other Deadpool figure. I want to keep this one brighter and more vibrant. So let me go back in with a thin wash of orange red to make the color pop more. I don't know if I'm gonna regret this, but I like how the black leather looks in this photo here. It has more of a matte finish. Let me see if I can replicate that by mixing a small amount of silver with black. Kinda like a dark gunmetal color. And I'm gonna apply this to his shoulders, the sides of his torso, the top half of his gloves, the straps, and the eyes. I'm gonna skip the holsters and the sheaths, so that there are multiple finishes on the figure. And since I have a bit of extra black paint left, I'm gonna do a thin wash on his boots to darken them, to make them dirtier looking. The belt. The brown on the belt is not good. It reminds me of chocolate. When I think of leather, I picture leather with weathering. So that's what I'm gonna do, starting with a base layer of warm brown, then adding a bit of shading with a deep brown. Oh, now the pouches are too dark. You can barely see them. So I'm going to use a warm beige color and add it to the edges of the pouches to redefine the shapes again, so that they look more three-dimensional. Leather pouches are actually very fun to paint. Just layer some light, medium, and dark brown over each other until they look right. Oh, I noticed that the straps that lead to the holsters are supposed to be black. So let me fix that. And speaking of wrong colors, there are a couple of missing gold details on Deadpool. So let's fix that too. When I first saw the suit, I did not like the gold. I prefer the silver on the original suit. But I think I get why they changed them. Besides the obvious, making changes so that they can sell more merch, it's also to indicate Deadpool has leveled up, from silver to gold. It also matches the TVA branding, but that's just my guess. On to the guns. I am not confident that this is gonna work. The reason is because there's a very high chance that the paint is gonna rub right off when I put the guns back into the holsters. That is also why I'm keeping the grips unpainted. There's absolutely no way the gripping hand is not gonna damage the paint. As for the swords, there are these gold accents on the handles. I'm feeling lazy, so I'm not gonna add the small gold details individually. Instead, I'm going to apply the gold over the entire handle, making sure the paint is in every nook and cranny. And while it's still wet, I'm going to use my fingers to swipe the top layer off, leaving the paint untouched in the sunken areas. The tip of the handle though has to be added the normal way. Alright, the weapons look good. Now let me add a thin coat of matte varnish over the eyes to give them more of a rubbery shine. I know I said I wanted them matte earlier, but I wasn't really feeling it. I think the face would pop more if the eyes are just a touch glossier. In order to minimize damage done to the guns, I'm going to use the Dremel to widen the holes, so that the guns aren't rubbing against the insides of the holsters. And for extra security, I'm going to add a thin coat of varnish over the guns as well, so that if they do rub against the holsters, the paint won't be making direct contact. And one final coat of matte spray to seal everything. Alright, here's Deadpool all finished. I like that the red is now deeper and less vibrant. The original red looks almost orange now. I don't know how I feel about the more frosted black. When I look at the before and after, I like how deep the black was, but it does look a bit cartoonish next to the bright red. The texture in the painted one looks a bit more realistic, but I actually kinda see what they were going for with the costume design. At a glance, it's near identical to the Fox version, but upon closer inspection, they actually smoothed out and flattened a lot of details. And just like with Wolverine, I had instances where I thought I was looking at the comic book Deadpool in my viewfinder. That was actually very cool. But I still think the Fox version is superior. That said, I am starting to like the brighter color. I don't know if the color is growing on me, or I painted the other one too dark, but I like the more saturated, brighter red. It is a bit more pleasing to the eyes. But I still think out of the box, the figure was way too bright. What do you think? Do you like the new Deadpool design? Or do you also prefer the Fox suit? Unfortunately, purely from a figure perspective, This new one here is just not as fun. I missed the open and pointing hands. What makes Deadpool stand out is that he gets to break the fourth wall and have fun. He's never really super serious. But because they only provided gripping hands for the swords and guns, this new Deadpool figure can no longer do these fun silly poses. That's what bums me out the most. Because Deadpool and Wolverine look awesome together. The yellow and red are so iconic at this point. They're like yin and yang. It'll be more fun if I can put Wolverine in a more serious action pose and juxtapose it with Deadpool in a sillier one. Right now, I feel like I have to put weapons in Deadpool's hands. Otherwise, his hands will look unnatural. And speaking of hands, I haven't had issues with the paint on the gun. Yet. I am being super careful. I'm keeping the guns in his hands unless I absolutely have to return them to the holsters. Let's quickly take a look at some of the photos I took. I had a blast with Burnt Pool last time. I could do so many goofy poses with him. But because of the lack of relaxed hands, and me being extra careful with the guns and the hips, I'm not able to do that many dynamic poses with this Deadpool. The photo still turned out okay though. I just wish I could do more. Okay fine, I'll do more. As you can see from the thumbnail, I made a display for Deadpool and Wolverine. I remember seeing comments suggesting doing the Void with the 20th Century Fox logo. That would be a cool display if I had other variants too. But since it's just these two right now, I thought a better setting would be the final battle in the middle of the road. Is that the final battle? They didn't really fight Cassandra Nova. They were all just holding hands with the machines. Is the Deadpool core fight the final battle? Anyway, this scene has become just as iconic in my opinion, because you see this used in a lot of trailers and marketing materials. I like that it's not an earth-ending type of final battle, but the set does look a bit uninspired. I couldn't tell if it was a real street or a movie set. Either way, it's hard not to think of this scene when you think of Deadpool and Wolverine now. Besides, this works nicely as a mini display. The scale fits perfectly for these two. And the symbol design works really well too. I did make some changes though, such as adding Lady Deadpool and the portal's reflection onto the window at the back. Now you know exactly what's happening in this scene. Best of all, I do not need to get the entire Deadpool core, saving me some money. I also added some TVA posters of Deadpool and Wolverine. This adds to the narrative, and most importantly, adds a bit of 3D element to the otherwise very 2D display. As simple as this display is, I love how cinematic it feels, like you know things are about to go down. It's like I just took a 3D screenshot of the moment right before the final battle. What do you think? Do you like my Deadpool and Wolverine display? Let me know down below. I'm gonna be honest here. I wasn't feeling the Deadpool figure, and was kinda having buyer's remorse. But I'm glad I made this display, because I feel like I elevated both figures. And somehow Deadpool actually looks really good now. That sounds weird because it's the exact same figure from earlier. But maybe it's the green wall, or Lady Deadpool's reflection. Now this feels complete. This wouldn't have worked without Deadpool. It also wouldn't really work with the older Deadpool figure either. So overall, it's a win. These photos just look so epic. I can hear Madonna's song playing in my head. Anyway, give this video a like if you agree, and subscribe to see me do more content like this. And as always, stay inspired and I'll see you soon. I can make it, so can you.